Joe Kent is a representative from Washington State's 3rd Congressional District. He's in a very, very tough race. Joe Kent, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Tell us about yourself, your opponent, and your district.
So, yeah, Washington's 3rd District. It's in southwest Washington, kind of the heart of timber country. I'm a retired Green Beret, did 20 years, 11 combat deployments in our military. Was in the CIA for a brief stint. My late wife was also in the military. She was killed fighting ISIS in Syria about a month after Trump. Yeah, about a month after Trump tried to get our troops out the first time. So that kind of thrust me into the political arena. And, I'm in the fight against a pretty extreme Democrat who is trying to pretend that she is a moderate, but she's far from that. Her name is Marie Perez. So we're in probably one of the tightest races here throughout the country, and according to Speaker Johnson, this is one of the key seats to flip. So we're just pushing hard here for the next 12 days, but we're feeling cautiously optimistic.
Well, tell us about your opponent, and what's your opponent's name?
Marie Perez, she's a freshman Democrat. I ran against her in 2022, lost by less than a percentage point. We had a really kind of divisive Republican primary. I took out one of the Trump impeachment voters in a tight primary. The Democrats were smart. They consolidated around Perez, hit me with about $6 million. We were outspent by about 6-1, but despite that, only lost by about less than a percentage point. So after the recount was done, we kicked the campaign back off again. Since she's been in Congress, she's been voting for all the Bidenomic inflation, voted to keep the southern border wide open, voted to put men into our daughters' dressing rooms. I mean, the list goes on. She's coming back to the district and basically, one step short of putting on a MAGA hat, trying to convince people she's a moderate, but she's voting in lockstep.
Oh, she's doing what?
She's trying to sound like a moderate. So I like to kid and say she's one step away from putting on a MAGA hat because Trump's won this district twice. So she's trying to really make it sound like she's a moderate, but really she's voted with the Biden administration and with Harris on pretty much every key issue. So we're really focusing on exposing what her actual voting record is and just telling people how we're going to get the inflation under control, fix the border, stop the fentanyl from flowing into our district.
And what is her name?
Marie Perez.
And what's her background?
Basically a Democrat political operative. So she's ran for a couple different things out here. She portrays herself as being some sort of a mechanic. Her husband owns a auto shop over on the Portland side of the river. So she's a Portland Democrat who lives over here and, has just been working in different political capacities.
Mm-hmm. And is your district a marginal district? You say it went for Trump, but what kind of lineup is it there?
So in presidential years, it goes about R plus 4 or 5. Trump won the district by 4 points in 16 and 4 points in 20 as well. We have a Republican turnout issue, though. Our people tend to turn out only for the presidential cycle, and then we dip way down in the midterms. So in the midterms, it's definitely a toss-up district. We are doing everything we can right now to get in front of our low-propensity voters. We're all mail-out ballots, unfortunately. So we've been voting now for about a week and a half. So we're really concentrating heavily right now on trying to get the ballot harvesting machinery going and making sure those low-propensity Trump voters, there's about 60,000 of them in our district, get their ballots in as soon as possible.
It's an amazing thing. In some ways, it's like pulling teeth. The other side, you don't have to pull teeth. They can't wait to vote to destroy the country. It's an amazing thing. Let me ask you this. Are you being outspent 2, 3, 4 to 1 like everybody else in this race?
Yeah, about 4 to 1. We've done okay on fundraising, but the Democrats wake up and they've got all the money they need. So, yeah, I'm being outspent by about 4 to 1. We're fundraising pretty heavily right now from our small dollar donors who have been very generous just to stay up on the air. But, for every one ad we put out, she's got about 4 out there right now trying to hit those last-minute voters.
There's some investigations going on. They think the Democrats are getting a lot of money from some weird places, potentially overseas. I mean, if you guys take the House again, I really think you got to look into this. Where the hell is all this money coming from? Did they just have more Democrat Party billionaire oligarchs willing to put their money where their mouth is, or what?
Yeah, that's certainly the case. I mean, with my opponent, she's taking money from the Fuse PAC, which was one of the lead drivers of the defund the police movement. She's getting money from Reid Hoffman's group. I mean, the list goes on, all the different corporate special interest groups. But the ACT Blue, I think, is something we definitely need to look into.
We're on with Joe Kent, Washington State, 3rd Congressional District. Very, very difficult fight. He's a great man. I'm a little concerned, I have to be honest with you, Joe Kent, when I'm watching TV and listening to some radio, that we're getting a little cocky and giddy out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm watching this guy, CNN's Harry Enton, who's pretty much a straight shooter. He's an analyst on the election, and he says today, I don't understand the Democratic panic while looking at Kamala Harris's 2 paths to victory. I don't know if he's right or wrong. But we have too many hosts, too many commentators who are acting like we're 10 points ahead. You were in the military. You never fight like you're ahead. You always fight like you're behind, and you fight right to the end, correct?
Exactly. The enemy always gets a vote. And look, the Democrats are very well organized. They're very well funded. They have been ballot harvesting way longer than we have. I mean, I know it's easy to take a look at. I just did 4 debates with my opponent, and she cannot defend her record. And so I think sometimes when we go head to head with the Democrats, we think, hey, this is a fair fight. We have the better arguments. We have the better policies. We've got this in the bag. But this comes down to mechanics. It comes down to, can we actually get our ballots across the finish line? And historically, Democrats have been better about that than Republicans have. So I think we've got to run like we're 10 points behind, and the Democrats have all the momentum and just fight. Every vote counts. Every ballot counts. Every ballot that's harvested and cured counts. So, yeah, it's going to come down to execution and turnout.
It's just very strange to me. I mean, we had the midterm election. It was supposed to be a blowout, according to these pollsters, according to all the talking heads. And we won by the skin of our teeth, right?
That's right. Yeah. It was supposed to be the red wave, but it most certainly was not. And the Democrats ran like they were 10 points down, and they held their own. So we've got to stay in the fight.
I just don't get this. Don't we ever learn our lessons? Same with early voting. Don't we want as many of our folks to vote as early, or as many to vote early as possible, so we bank these votes, and then, of course, on Election Day, we turn out as many people as we can, but focus on turning out those people, as you pointed out, who are not really attuned to voting?
Yeah, that's got to be the focus. I mean, Republicans, we're independent-minded people, so I think we view voting as a very individual thing, whereas the Democrats have that collective mentality, and they're like a military unit. And so I get out and I talk to people every single day, and I'm encouraging early voting, and I always get people that are like, I don't want to vote early, and they're kind of actively fighting against it. So I think culturally we've got to shift our mentality. I mean, the Democrats have horrible ideas, but their political execution is pretty impressive. So we've got to get out there and make sure we're turning out our vote. If we get a high turnout, and if we get people to actually vote who share values with us, Christians, hunters, firearms owners, we'll win in a very big way, I think. But it's going to come down to turnout.
What towns are in your district?
So the most major town in our district is Vancouver, Washington, so just across the Columbia from Portland, Oregon. And everything else is relatively small. Up the I-5 corridor, we go just to the south of Olympia, but the rest is Timber Country, USA, lots of small, hard-working, blue-collar towns.
So you really have almost 2 different types of voting constituencies right there, don't you?
That's right, we do. Yeah, we have very rural, and then we also have an urban. Vancouver's an interesting city because it's basically what Portland used to be before the leftists absolutely destroyed it. So we've got a thriving downtown, a great business community. Washington State used to be very pro-business before the Democrats took control via Seattle. So yeah, we have an urban business-minded community, but then we've also got a lot of blue-collar folks, especially that used to work in the timber industry. So the way that government regulation has destroyed the timber and the fishing industry, it's had a huge effect here. So we've got a lot of really core Republican voters if we can get out and reach them.
So again, if people want to help you, Joe Kent, and folks, we really do need to help them, where do they go? JoeKentForCongress.com. No donations too small. Anything that folks can give is greatly appreciated. We have a postcard writing campaign right now, too. So for the cost of some postcards and stamps, you can help us reach those low propensity voters by sending them a handwritten postcard. Boy, you're doing the old-fashioned way. We are. We've actually found this to be very effective. I mean, I'm used to running kind of insurgent warfare as a Green Beret, and that's what we're doing here. So we're just trying to fight in the most efficient way possible. All right, folks, that's Joe Kent. I mean, great heroes. His unfortunately deceased wife is a great hero. And we can very desperately use him back in Congress. Any final words? No, appreciate your support. The stake of the country is on the line. I mean, everything that my late wife and 13 generations of Americans, patriots, gave their lives for, that's at stake. So we got to get our people out there to vote, and I'm confident we're going to win in the end. All right, my friend. God bless and good luck to you. We'll be watching. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it. You bet. God, we have so many good people running for office, and they have so many reprobates. It's unbelievable. It's not even close.